All right, let's dive into something that's, well, it's completely flipped the world of B2B sales on its head. We're talking about a massive power shift that's happened over the last, say, 15 years. And here's the thing, if you're still playing by the old rules, you're not just behind, you're not even in the same game anymore. I mean, it really boils down to this stark difference. Think back to like 2010. The seller, they were king. They had all the info, all the control. The buyer had to come to them for everything. But today, whoa, the tables have completely turned. The buyer is absolutely in the driver's seat now. So you're probably asking, how did this happen? And more importantly, what does it mean for you? Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down. We'll look at the old way, see how buyers think now, and then get into the new rules of the game. Okay, so let's rewind the clock a bit. Back in 2010, what was marketing? It was, hitting up your network, throwing some random stuff online, maybe hiring a company to just blast emails out. And you know what? It kind of worked. Why? Because buyers didn't have any other option. All the important info was locked up, and the salesperson was the gatekeeper. But then everything changed. A few massive things happened all at once, right? The pandemic forced everyone online. The AI boom put, literally all the world's information at our fingertips. And, oh yeah, everyone started carrying a supercomputer in their pocket. That old model, it didn't just crack, it completely shattered. And this leads us right to the first huge shift. Buyers now have all this power, all this technology. So what do? They don't wait around for a sales pitch anymore. Nope. They're going to do their own research on their own schedule. They're in control. So this brings up a really interesting question, right? If buyers are doing all this digging themselves before they even talk to you, when does the real sales process actually begin? The answer? Well, it's pretty wild. 83%. Just let that number sit there for a second. 83%. Yup, you heard that right. Gartner found that a whopping 83% of the entire decision-making process is already done before a buyer even thinks about talking to a vendor. Think about that. The sale is basically won or lost before your team even gets a chance to say hello. So what in the world are they doing during all that time? Well, they're reading, they're researching, and that brings us to our next number. On average, a B2B buyer checks out 11 huge pieces of your content before they'll even consider a meeting. They're reading your articles, watching your webinars, looking at your case studies. They are vetting you completely. So that first sales call, it's not a discovery call anymore. It's a confirmation call. It's just a final check to make sure the decision they've already made is the right one. Okay, so this naturally leads to the next big change. Buyers are super informed now, right? So their standards have gone way, way up. They're not looking for a jack of all trades anymore. No, they're on the hunt for a true specialist. And here's where it gets really interesting. Look at the buyer's goal. It used to be all about playing it safe. Nobody ever got fired for hiring the biggest firm. But that's over. Now it's all about one thing, getting the best possible result. They want the team that has solved their exact problem, like 100 times over. And that's why specialists are just crushing it right now. And look, the data totally backs this up. Buyers are actively looking for proof that you're the expert. They trust real insights, thought leadership, way more than some slick marketing brochure. They actually want you to challenge their thinking. And get this, subject matter expertise is now the #1 reason they'll choose you. That's right. It's more important than your team, your history, even more important than price. That's huge. So let's recap. Buyers are in charge, they do their own research, and they only want to talk to real experts. With all that in mind, it's probably no shock that the old playbook of interrupting people, cold calls, spammy emails, it just doesn't work anymore. In fact, it does the opposite. We've all gotten that email, right? For something we'd never buy. It's more than just annoying. It makes you think I am never working with that company. And this just shows you how risky that is. When a buyer gets that kind of irrelevant message, they don't just hit delete. Look at this. Almost 3/4 of them will go out of their way to avoid that company from now on. So you're not just missing a sale, you are literally burning the bridge for any future sale. Forever. So if you can't force your way in, what do? Simple, you have to earn your way in. There are no shortcuts left. The only way to win is to consistently prove your value, share your expertise, and build trust over time. It's kind of ironic, isn't it? The long way has become the only shortcut.
All right, so you can't interrupt people. You have to earn their trust. Aha, you might be thinking. Referrals, that's the answer. And you're kind of right, but not in the way you probably think. Yes, referrals are still super important, but what they do has totally changed.
84%. I mean, that's a massive number. It just goes to show you, yeah, referrals are still absolutely critical for getting your foot in the door. But, and this is a huge but, while most buying journeys start with a referral, that's all it is now, a start. It's not a golden ticket to a sale anymore. Think of it more like the starting gun at a race where the buyer immediately takes off to do their own research. So here's what the new referral journey looks like. Step 1, someone they trust says, hey, you should check out this company. Step 2, what do they do next? They immediately go online and start that deep dive we talked about. They're looking for those 11 pieces of content. Step 3, only if everything they find online confirms you're the real deal, then they'll take a meeting. And again, that meeting isn't for you to sell them. It's for them to confirm the decision they already made.
Okay, so let's tie this all together. We've seen how much has changed. So what are the new rules for selling in this buyer-led world?
You know, the moral of the story is actually pretty simple, but it's incredibly powerful. The power has flipped. It's not coming back. The buyer is 100% in control of the entire process now. They want answers, they want deep expertise, and they want fresh ideas. You can't fight it. The only way to win is to get on board and play their game.
And this brings us to what might be the single most important takeaway from all of this. Marketing isn't just, the support crew for sales anymore. Since the buyer does almost everything on their own, your marketing has basically become 80% of your sales process. Your website, your content, your social media, those are your new salespeople, and they're working 24/7. So I'll leave you with this one final question to think about. Be honest with yourself. Is your marketing right now built for that 2010 world where the seller had all the power? Or is it built for today's world, for the savvy, empowered buyer who's in complete control? Because really, the answer to that question is going to decide whether you succeed or get left behind.